Hello and welcome to The Bard's Truth with your host, the Green Bard. This is Magic, Prophecy, and Dragons in the second half of House of the Dragon Season 1. I am as late as you can be with this because I am releasing probably after the debut of Episode 1 of the second season, but better late than never. I already considered the magic and dragon themes seen on screen from the first 5 episodes of HotD Season 1, so this video covers episodes 6 through 10. The showrunners continue to get a lot right about their portrayal of magic written into the books by George R.R. Martin. They do this in a much more satisfying way to those of us who enjoy the magic of A Song of Ice and Fire than did D&D in A Game of Thrones. Incidentally, I cover the magic in the main book series extensively in my King's Blood, Dire Wolves of Winterfell, and Dragon Bonds video series. In essence, there are certain people, some noble and common folk, who possess genes referred to alternatively as King's Blood or the Gift. My study indicates that these people can perform magical acts, be it skin-changing or warging, entering the beast's mind, that is, glamour, altering appearances magically, that is, fire magic, blood magic, telepathy, telekinesis, or any other manner of magic. How that magic is manifested is a matter of conditioning and experiences. Having the raw ability to do the magic at all is genetic. King's Blood is generally more common amongst the race in Westeros known as the First Men, or among the descendants of Old Valyria. Not so with the other race, the Andals. Being a dragon rodder is a specialized version of skin changing only available to those who have the blood of Old Valyria, or the blood of the dragon. Since this show focuses on dragons, we'll reintroduce the Dragon Bond themes introduced in my Dany's Dragon Bonds series before covering the episodes directly. 1. Mirroring mood/feelings and independence. 2. Protecting/shadowing/savagery/fearsome. Sensing danger and threats. 3. Petting/touch/affection, including sharing of senses. 4. Power/mother and control. Then 5. Bad things/danger when separate from your beast. This also happens when your beast is ignoring you mentally. Episode 6, The Princess and the Queen. We start with the birth of Joffrey Velaryon, Rhaenyra's third trueborn son, with her husband Laenor Velaryon, but whispered to be secretly the biological son of Rhaenyra and Harwin Strong. All 3 boys are pictured here with both men and Rhaenyra. While the birth is not a magical event, the fact that all 3 boys become dragon riders is an indication of their King's Blood. It's possible that they only get it from their mother, but even if their father is Harwin Strong, he may have King's Blood of the First Men running through his veins. Getting the dragon gene from both parents would only be possible if Laenor were the true father. I actually think her first son, Dracarys, is probably the biological son of Criston Cole, but regardless, the fact that the 3 boys, while lacking many typically Valyrian features like purple eyes and silvery blonde hair, still become dragon riders is probably a testament to the strength of Rhaenyra's King's Blood. I believe that Rhaenyra is not only mother to these 3 boys and her later children, but also mother to many of the dragons that have hatched on Dragonstone and King's Landing recently. She is mother to dragons, just like Daenerys Targaryen was to Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal in A Game of Thrones and the main book series. This would explain at least why her children all seem to have dragons, she being near their cradle eggs. Still, that doesn't explain why Alicent's son, now King Aegon, also has a young dragon, Sunfire. Perhaps Alicent has the ability to hatch dragons too? I postulate that she may be the daughter of Ser Otto Hightower and Sarah Targaryen, Viserys' aunt, who spent more than a year in Old Town. Or perhaps Alicent's mother was Sarah's daughter. In any case, the coupling of Hightower First Men and Targaryen King's Blood would certainly be powerful, as Alicent's children being dragon riders attests. This was certainly an outcome House Freudian slip there. This was certainly an outcome House Hightower had wished in sending Alicent to King's Landing, whether or not she hatched Sunfire. Perhaps it was even Rhaenyra who hatched Sunfire for her brother. Certainly she was loving toward him when he was a baby, would she not be? The training scene that follows with Dracarys and Vermax is a good example of the bond developing. The pair are bonded, but the prince has not attained mastery over the dragon yet. Dragons' independence make this a very difficult feat. You seem to need to get their assent. I don't think you can force a dragon to obey, only to get it to decide to follow you through force of will. If their will is elsewise and or stronger than your own, they will not follow your lead, and bad things can happen in this scenario. We also get a scene with Daemon and Laena in the episode. Laena rides Vhagar, the sole surviving dragon from Aegon's conquest. An old dragon like this must certainly take a strong will to master. Laena then has a scene with Rhaena where she is also trying to hatch her cradle egg. They discuss how to bond a dragon with the strength of one's will. It is unknown why she cannot hatch a dragon. Preston Jacobs speculates that Rhaena's grandmother, Rhaenys Targaryen, might be a hatcher as well, but I think not, given the fact of this egg not hatching. The final dragon interaction of the episode shows the depth of the connection between the strong-willed Laena and Vhagar, and she persuades the most powerful dragon in the show to end her life in flames due to mortal delivery complications. Episode 7, Driftmark. The most notable scene in this episode, set at Laena's funeral, is the claiming of Vhagar by Aemond. But first, we get a scene with Helaena, Alicent's daughter, who eventually marries her brother Aegon at Alicent's behest. Helaena is rider to the dragon Dreamfire, notably not hatched by Alicent, but by an earlier Rhaena Targaryen, granddaughter of Aegon the Conqueror and his sister wife, Rhaenys. The fan-beloved Helena's peculiarities are likely the product of prophetic visions she receives. There is a long history of this type of magical gift among Targaryens, dating back to Daenerys the Dreamer, who caused the relocation of House Targaryen to Dragonstone from Old Valyria because she foresaw the doom of Valyria. Daenerys also foretold the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy. Recall that this is a prophecy about Dany or Jon or Stannis being the prince that was promised. The prophecy is covered in House of the Dragon Episode 1 and mentioned at Viserys' death in Episode 8. In Aemon's bonding scene with Vhagar, one must wonder why Vhagar accepts the boy. I think it was that Aemond was intensely determined to claim a dragon, and because of his angst at not having one yet, being a dragonish emotion, one that the old dragon can understand. I dare say that the conflict between the boys after this is partially mirroring of the savage emotions of Vhagar and the other boys and girls, dragons, onto their riders. Coupled with Rhaena's angst at still not having a dragon, it's safe to say that Vhagar's savage nature will mirror onto his rider periodically for the rest of the series. The episode ends with Laenor's death being faked to allow him to flee across the narrow sea, and Daemon and Rhaenyra to marry, which comically makes their future sons illegitimate as well. Not a concern in the books. Plot hole. In the books, though, Laenor dies for real because his dragon is later ridden by the bastard character Adam of Hull, soon to be Adam Velaryon, legitimized by Queen Rhaenyra. This creates a plot hole because dragon lore is constant, that a rider cannot claim a dragon while the dragon's erstwhile rider lives. If the showrunners break this bit of lore in the coming Season 2, I would be disappointed. But if they close the plot hole by not having Adam exist as a character, I would be even more disappointed because he has some of the most amazing heroic scenes coming. Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. The magic starts in this episode with Daemon finding a clutch of fresh dragon eggs laid by Syrax on Dragonstone. Presumably, he's looking for one for his newborn son, Aegon, and the coming babe to be born in the next episode. Targaryens are given cradle eggs as babies in hopes that it will hatch into the dragon they will eventually ride. A sporadic tradition started by that earlier Rhaena, aka, at times, the Queen in the West, or the Queen in the East, depending on where she resided, who hatched the dragon eggs of good Queen Alysanne and Jaehaerys I, the Conciliator, also, after placing them in her younger siblings' cradles. Rhaenyra and Daemon go to King's Landing to find King Viserys wasting away. It has long been my contention and opinion that the king was purposefully kept weak and infirmed by his maester to the benefit of the Hightowers, and eventually killed at a time that would cause the most instability and foster the coup that comes later. The Old Town Conspiracy, as fans call it, pits the faith of the Seven, the Citadel, and the High Towers against those who would wield magic. And as I have described here, Rhaenyra and her ability to hatch dragons, along with her progeny and Daemon, are the most magical threat to this cabal. While this conspiracy is only written between the lines in the book Fire and Blood, the Maester leg of the stool is strongly hinted at by Archmaester Marwyn to Samwell Tarly in A Feast for Crows, 4th book of the main series, suggesting other Archmaesters would have killed Maester Aemon if he'd reached Old Town.
"Kill him," Sam said, shocked. "Why? If I tell you, they may need to kill you too." Marwyn smiled a ghastly smile, the juice of the sour leaf running red between his teeth. "Who do you think killed all the dragons the last time around? Gallant dragon slayers armed with swords?" He spat. "The world the Citadel is building has no place in it for sorcery or prophecy, or glass candles, much less for dragons. Ask yourself why Aemon Targaryen was allowed to waste his life upon the wall, when by rights he should have been raised to Archmaester. His blood was why. He could not be trusted, no more than I can."
I'm too conspiratorial, you say? Well, George Carlin can rebut that easily.
You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. These people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And they're used to.
He's right, too. So, Vaemond Lackhead here meets Daemon's blade in a bit of poor politics by himself. Is Daemon's savage nature and savage act partially due to mirroring of his dragon, Caraxes, the bloodworm? Was there ever a more fearsome name for a dragon? Well, perhaps he's second behind Balerion, the Black Dread, Aegon the Conqueror's mount. And also Viserys' mount, although he rode him only once. Episode 9, The Green Council. The only important bit of magic in this episode is how Rhaenys, the queen who never was, passed over in preference to King Viserys in Episode 1, chooses Rhaenyra's side and quit the dragon pit during Aegon's crowning in terror and splendor, killing hundreds of small folk, but sparing her kin on the dais. Both acts show her extreme level of control over the dragon Meleys. The force of the mirroring of their collective fury at the passing over of another woman who was rightful heir is frightful in Meleys' roar. Episode 10, The Black Queen. The episode starts with Rhaenyra miscarrying upon hearing the news her brother had been crowned. This scene is similar to the books.
"Get out!" she screamed, clawing at her swollen belly as her maester and her midwife tried to restrain her. "Monster! Monster! Get out! Get out! Get out!" When the babe at last came forth, she proved indeed a monster, a stillborn girl, twisted and malformed, with a hole in her chest where her heart should have been, and a stubby, scaled tail.
That's from The Princess and the Queen. This is, of course, reminiscent of Daenerys' son Rhaego 200 years later. I speculate that Rhaenyra may have inadvertently cursed the child and caused a blood magic transformation in utero, killing and deforming the child, as Mirri Maz Duur may have done with Dany's child. Rhaenyra doing this, of course, in her angst. The first dragon interaction of the episode shows a close level of control by Daemon with Caraxes as he intimidates Rhaenyra's Queensguard. Caraxes comes as if on Daemon's telepathic beckoning. Later, Rhaenyra in turn intimidates Otto by riding to him in a similar savage fashion. When she gets furious and seems threatened, Syrax mirrors her fury with a roar and prepares to attack in protection of Rhaenyra. But the dragon does not attack, which shows a similar level of control for Rhaenyra as Daemon had prior. After the boys depart on Dragonback as envoys, Daemon then attempts to make contact with Vermithor, who had been King Jaehaerys' mount. While he won't be able to bond to or ride Vermithor, he does seem able to partially tame him to some degree with Valyrian song emanating calm. This foreshadows Team Black finding Vermithor a mount. The final magical event I need to cover is, of course, the fight between Lucerys and Aemon, Arrax and Vhagar. Although I must note that this is just the showrunner's version of the event, George R. R. Martin's book description is very vague. While Lucerys struggles to control Arrax, fleeing in the rain, Aemond seems in control of Vhagar, seemingly toying with the boy and the much smaller dragon. One might think that all Aemond wanted to do was frighten the boy, but then things take a turn when Arrax, again not under the control of Lucerys, breathes flame upon Vhagar, infuriating the older dragon. Why did Arrax do this? My guess is mirroring of Luke's fear. Vhagar, as we know, also sups on Aemond's mirrored rage. Due to this, Aemon very quickly becomes a passenger as Vhagar sates his enraged bloodlust in retribution, toasting the boy and biting the smaller dragon in half. Savage indeed. Before the fateful loss of control by both riders, they had unsuccessfully pled for the dragons to serve me in Valyrian. It didn't happen. Instead, the stranger was served. Valar Morghulis.
Thanks to all the terrific artists who let me use their work on this YouTube video. Thanks especially to those in my family who helped in this series so far. If you enjoyed this content, you can also consider supporting us on Patreon.